Shalom and blessings, warriors of Yahuah and the truth. Today we are continuing on with the CEPHER, the Millennium Edition. We are in Maccabees. Let me see. Maccabees 6. And then we'll be hopping over to my other channel to do the Beguiled series. There's not much more left in that book, but I did put a poll up on this channel so you guys can decide which book I should get next for our next reading. Okay. About that time, King Antiochus, traveling through the high countries, heard saying that Elymas in the country of Persia was a city greatly renowned for riches, silver, and gold, and that there was in it a very rich temple, wherein were coverings of gold, and breastplates and shields, which Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian king, who reigned first among the Yavanim, had left there. Wherefore he came and sought to take the city and to spoil it, but he was not able, because they of the city, having had warning thereof, rose up against him in battle. So he fled and departed thence with great heaviness, and returned to Babel. Moreover, there came one who brought him tidings into Persia, that the armies which went against the land of Yehudah were put to flight. And the Lysias, who went forth first with a great power, was driven away of the Yahudim, and that they were made strong by the armor and power and store of spoils which they had gotten of the armies whom they had destroyed. Also that they had pulled down the abomination which he had set up upon the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had compassed about the sanctuary with high walls as before, and his city Bet-surah. Now when the king heard these words, he was astonished and sore moved, whereupon he laid him down upon his bed, and fell sick for grief, because it had not befallen him as he looked for. And there he continued many days, for his grief was ever more and more, and he made account that he should die. Wherefore he called for all his friends, and said unto them, The sleep is gone from my eyes, and my heart fails for very care. And I thought with myself, into my tribulation am I come, and how great a flood of misery is it, wherein now I am. For I was bountiful and beloved in my power.
Are you not?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing my video, honey, for the lady that...
Yeah, you make me addicted to buying the cheap stuff.
But now I remember the evils that I did at Jerusalem, and that I took all the vessels of gold and silver that were therein, and sent to destroy the inhabitants of Yehudah without a cause. I perceived therefore that for this cause these troubles are come upon me, and behold, I perish through great grief in a strange land. Then called he for Philip, one of his friends, who he made ruler over all his realm, and gave him the crown, and his robe, and his signet, to the end he should bring up his son Antiochus, and nourish him up for the kingdom. So King Antiochus died there in the 149th year. Now when Lysias knew that the king was dead, he set up Antiochus his son, whom he had brought up being young, to reign in his stead, and his name he called Eupator. About this time they that were in the tower shut up Yasharal round about the sanctuary, and sought always their hurt and the strengthening of the heathen. Wherefore Yehudah, proposing to destroy them, called all the people together to besiege them. So they came together and besieged them in the 150th year, and he made mounts for shot against them, and other engines, howbeit certain of them that were besieged got forth, unto whom some wicked men of Yasharal joined themselves. And they went unto the king and said, How long will it be ere you execute judgment and avenge our brethren? We have been willing to serve your father and to do as he would have us, and to obey his commandments, for which cause they of our nation besiege the tower and are alienated from us. Moreover, as many of us as they could light on, they slew, and spoiled our inheritance. Neither have they stretched out their hand against us only, but also against their borders. And behold, this day, as they besieging the tower of Jerusalem to take it, the sanctuary also, and Bet Sarah, have they fortified. Wherefore, if you do not prevent them quickly, they will do the greater things than these, neither shall you be able to rule them. Now when the king heard this, he was angry, and gathered together all his friends and the captains of his army, and those that had charge of the horse. There came also unto him from other kingdoms and from isles of the sea bands of hired soldiers, so that the number of his army was 100,000 footmen, and 20,000 horsemen, and 32 elephants exercised in battle. These went through Edom and pitched against Bet Sarah, which they assaulted many days, making engines of war. But they of Bet Sarah came out and burned them with fire and fought valiantly. Upon this Yahudah removed from the tower and pitched in Bet Zechariah over against the king's camp. Then the king, rising very early, marched fiercely with his host towards Bet Zechariah, where his armies made them ready to battle, and sounded the shofars. And to the end they might provoke the elephants to fight, they showed them the blood of grapes and mulberries. Moreover, they divided the beasts among the armies, and for every elephant they appointed 1,000 men, armed with coats of mail and with helmets of brass on their heads. And besides this, for every beast were ordained 500 horsemen of the best. These were ready at every occasion, wheresoever the beast was, and whithersoever the beast went, they went also, neither departed they from him. And thereupon the beasts were strong towers of wood, which covered every one of them, and were girt fast unto them with devices. There were also upon every one 32 strong men that fought upon them, beside the Indian that ruled him. As for the remnant of the horsemen, they set them on this side and that side at the two parts of the host, giving them signs what to do, and being harnessed all over amidst the ranks. That's Roscoe. Now when the sun shone upon the shields of gold and brass, the mountains glistened therewith, and shined like lamps of fire. So part of the king's army being spread upon the high mountains, and part on the valleys below, they marched on safely and in order. Wherefore all that heard the noise of their multitude, and the marching of the company, and the rattling of the harness, were moved. For the army was very great and mighty. Then Yahudah and his hosts drew near, and entered into battle, and there were slain of the king's army 600 men. Eleazar also, surnamed Savaran, piercing that one of the beasts, armed with royal harness, was higher than all the rest, and supposing that the king was upon him, put himself in jeopardy to the end he might deliver his people and get him a perpetual name. Wherefore he ran upon him courageously through the midst of battle, slaying on the right hand and on the left, so that they were divided from him on both sides. Which done, he crept under the elephant, and thrust him under, and slew him. Whereupon the elephant fell down upon him, and there he died. Howbeit the rest of the Yahudim, seeing the strength of the king and the violence of his forces, turned away from them. Then the king's army went up to Jerusalem to meet them, and the king pitched his tents against Yahudah and against Mount Sion. But with them that were in Bet Sarah he made peace, for they came out of the city, because they had no victuals there to endure the siege, it being a year of rest to the land. So the king took Bet Sarah, and set a garrison there to keep it. As for the sanctuary, he besieged it many days, and set artillery with engines and instruments there to cast fire and stones and pieces to cast spears and slings. Whereupon they also made engines against their engines and held them battle a long season. Yet at the last their vessels being without victuals, for that it was the 7th year, and they in Yahudah that were delivered from the other nations had eaten up the remnant of the store. There were but a few left in the sanctuary, because the famine did so prevail against them, that they were fain to disperse themselves, every man to his own place. At that time Lysias heard say that Philip, whom Antiochus the king, while he lived, had appointed to bring up his son Antiochus that he might be king, was returned out of Persia and Media, and the king's hosts also that went with him, and that he sought to take unto him the ruling of the affairs. Wherefore he went in all haste and said to the king and the captains of the host of the company, We delay, and our victuals are but small, and the place we lay siege unto is strong, and the affairs of the kingdom lie upon us. Now therefore let us be friends with these men, and make peace with them, and with all their nation, and covenant with them, that they shall live after their Torah, as they did before. For they are therefore displeased, and have done all these things, because we have abolished their Torah. So the king and the princes were content, wherefore he sent unto them to make peace, and they accepted thereof. Also the king and the princes made an oath unto them, whereupon they went out of the stronghold. Then the king entered into Mount Sion, but when he saw the strength of the place, he broke his oath that he had made, and gave commandment to pull down the wall round about. Afterward departed he in all haste, and returned unto Antioch, where he found Philip to be master of the city. So he fought against him and took the city by force. Next time we'll be reading 1 Maccabees 7. Let's see here. We have about 8 more chapters in this one, and then we'll be on to 2 Maccabees. And now it's time to praise Yahuah. And I feel like this song has been really needed most of the day. And I sing it out quite often when I need to kind of cool down, when I feel like I'm being persecuted, or if I'm being yelled at for no apparent reason, by people that don't even know me. So it was not a very fun time today. So I know I probably sang this a few times recently, but it is a lovely song. Count it all joy. 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 Through the persecution, Yahushua went through it too. Count it all joy. Count it all joy. Through the trials and tribulations, through the suffering and the pain, count it all joy. Count it all joy. No matter what you're going through, when you don't know what to do, count it all joy. Look to Yahushua, count it all joy. When Hasatan throws a wrench in your life, drop down to your knees and pray to Abba Yahuah, and He will work it all out for you, so you can count it all joy. Count it all joy. Yahuah works everything out for our good. Your heart and your mind must be working in unison. Stay faithful to Yah and He'll stay faithful to you, so you can count it all joy. Don't get caught up in the worries and cares of this world. Stay on the narrow path, not the broad road to destruction. Yahuah always has your back in your righteous ways. So count it all joy. Count it all joy. I love you all with an everlasting love as our Abba Yahuah loves each and every one of us in the Shamayim. Shalom and blessings, warriors of Yahuah and the truth.